Hello, friends. Are you ready to hear the rest of the tale? Then let us commence. So, the last time we caught up with the Ragtags, that's what I'm calling them now, just go with it. They had all wound up on the ruined and very red world of Telene with Lysandra the Gateseeker and her colleague, Celinda Darman. Telene was a world ruined by an apocalypse seemingly caused by the glitching portals that had been popping up around the multiverse as of late. That's an oversimplification, obviously, but why don't you sit here and try and concisely sum up some of the things this random bunch of chucklefucks gets up to? Anyway, they had followed the Gateseeker and Celinda on a quest to stabilize a gate on Telene, as the wizards believed that whatever was causing the glitching not only caused the sundering of the world, it was also spreading, like a disease, to other worlds through the various portals there. That does sound pretty serious, actually. Lysandra had managed to stabilize the gate, and everyone had prepared to return to Sigil when a Gith woman who had been hiding in some nearby ruins appeared and helped clear up some wraiths that had been attacking the heroes. With no time for proper introductions, Celinda invited the woman to join in the escape, and everyone hopped through the portal back to Sigil. Back on the other side of the portal, 3 wizards were waiting for Lysandra and Celinda. Appearing to be colleagues of theirs in whatever strange and cool wizard faction or fraternity or association or collective they all seemed to belong to. The wizards all wore different shades of the spectrum to maybe indicate something important, and also appeared to be different shades of disappointed with the Gateseeker and Celinda. The one in red, the leader perhaps, expressed a concern that the 2 junior wizards had disobeyed the group's wishes and had entered the portal to Telene. Lysandra and Celinda both explained that there had been no other choice, a half-truth, I would say, and that the jaunt had gained them important first-hand knowledge about what might be going on, as well as something incredibly important, a survivor of the apocalypse, meaning, of course, the Gith woman they had found. Oh, right, one small thing. After coming back through the gate from Telene, Varis had found that Meenko was now in his head and not in Braze's. So, yeah, that became a bit of a thing, as you can probably imagine. The glitched-up gate, even stabilized, had caused a switch or shift or phase or... I'm not an arcanist or scholar or doctor professor or whatever, so I can't really tell you what happened other than Meenko was in Varis's head now, yeah? Needless to say, whatever happened was definitely causing waves within our little group of so-and-sos. Then there was the Gith woman. She had proven herself a more than capable warrior and psionicist on Telene, but everyone could see now that surviving alone on an apocalyptic and ontologically terminal world had taken its toll on her, and she was malnourished and exhausted. Despite this, she was able to weather questions from both the Ragtags and the wizards. Her name was Uwnia, and she had found herself on Telene when she had been forced to escape through a portal she had been studying to flee the sudden destruction of her own world. After arriving on the ruined red planet, about a week earlier, she surmised, although wasn't entirely sure, she had fought to survive and hadn't eaten much or anything the entire time. Deciding to leave the weakened and malnourished woman alone, probably because they felt she didn't have any worthwhile intel about the impending end of the universe, no doubt, the wizards bid farewell to our heroes and teleported away to, quote, speak with the others. Celinda offered apologies and left as well. Lysandra teleported the Ragtags +1 to the sleeping dragon in the clerk's ward and spent an extra moment to let them know that she would get in touch shortly about what to do next. Then, with that and a flash, the Gateseeker teleported away. Hoping to find food and eventually rest in a soft, warm bed, Uwnia raced into the inn. The Ragtags followed, and soon all were ensconced at a table and sharing drinks and a meal. The strange allies traded information with one another, and various theories about what may or may not be going on with the multiverse. Varis was also determined to get to the bottom of why Meenko was now in his head, and hopefully, a solution to end that as soon as possible. Uwnia expressed interest in how the Ragtags all came to be friends, and when hearing the story about the stasis tanks and, well, the other insanity over the past fortnight or so, wanted to see a drawing or representation of the tanks. Pushing through a moment of anxiety, Varis drew an incredibly accurate facsimile of the tanks, though they seemed slightly different than what everyone remembered, with a slightly more alien design to them. Afterwards, Varis pushed everyone to decide on what their next moves should be. For her part, Uwnia offered to stay on as an extra sword and ally. Yes, I was hoping that would happen. After some discussion, it was agreed that the group's next move would be to follow the lead they had found that pointed to Sylvania, the outland gate town to the Olympian glades of Arborea and the Feywild. If you'll remember, after using the shipping manifest of the crashed airship that their stasis tanks had been transported to Sigil on, the heroes had discovered that they had been loaded onto the vessel in Sylvania. From there, things got a little murkier as, thanks to the flighty nature of the Fey, it wasn't clear who had the crates loaded or why or from where before that. All the heroes had to go on was that someone named Nimnilian, Spiritor of Action, had signed off on it all. Still, it was a smidge more than nothing, and more than enough to decide to head to Sylvania on the morrow, after everyone, especially Uwnia, got some rest. As the rest headed to bed, Varis, Braze and Meenko headed to the Temple of Knowledge to do some research on a way, anyway, to free Meenko from Varis's head. It's funny how that probably doesn't even break the top 20 weirdest things I've said about these guys. At the temple, Varis found that he had received a letter. A most impressive letter, actually, as it was written using some of the finest ink on some of the most luxurious and beautiful stationery he had ever seen. The missive was a reply to the letter he had written some days earlier to Lord Wake's Galt, a wealthy and powerful man who the Ragtags had learned had been robbed some time ago, and that the only clue had been the same ectoplasm they had discovered at Dr. Sajalev's workspace when the solar egg had been stolen. You know, just in case you were confusing it with any other ectoplasm we might have mentioned. It's so hard to keep track, innit? Anyway, Varis took a long shot to gain an audience with one of the most wealthy and powerful men in the multiverse and, well, it worked. The Ragtags would be meeting with the Lord at his palace in the Ladies' Ward at noon the next day. And from there it was only a short stretch of the legs to the gate to Sylvania. Perfect. With that, Varis and Meenko and Brace hit the books to search for some way. Anyway, to separate Meenko from Varis's mind before the Eladrin went balmy full stop. While nothing concrete was turned up, Varis felt they were on the right path, although the answers couldn't come soon enough. The next morning, the heroes all regrouped at the Sleeping Dragon Inn and prepared for their big day of meetings and travel. I have to say, I'm really liking where this seems to be heading. It's looking very promising indeed. No, really. I'm being serious. Oh, come on. Really I am.